Hey everyone, welcome to SuperTalk Saga, the show where we get online and talk about the D&D campaign that we normally play on this same show. My name is Will Stark. I'm normally your dungeon master, but today I'm just your friend, and I'm joined as always by...
Josh Freeland, playing Josh Freeland.
I'm your special guest, Jake, played by me, Jake.
I'm Brian, and sometimes I pretend to be a space wizard named Echo, but I'm just Brian right now.
And we did it, guys. We finished another arc of the story that is the Draken Star Saga. We only got 2 more to go.
Whew, that's crazy.
How was everyone feeling after this last crazy arc?
Yeah, intense, man. It's just the whole thing's been intense. This last arc was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was a fun one for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
and I like the
dungeon
whole
dive.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
No, I was just saying, like, I love, like, sci-fi horror type stuff. Like, one of my favorite movies is Event Horizon. So I just love anything that's, like, horror and space. And just, like, it seemed like it had that feel to it. You know, I just really enjoyed this one. So,
yeah, it was a fun mix for me. Also, like, I wanted to... So, this arc, I had a couple ideas going into it. I think the top one, the number one was I wanted to give you guys a break from the story before it becomes nothing but story towards the end as we get into the final 2 arcs here. I did kind of a similar-ish thing back in the Blood Gala tournament. That was a way for us to just kind of have fun that wasn't necessarily story-oriented before we get whipped back into it. And I kind of did a similar-ish thing with the Hell Arc, except for the Hell Arc was very integral to the story. It still felt very like we're taking a side path here. And the other was I promised the Dungeon Cast listeners long ago that I would bring a space pirate lich into the campaign. So I was like, well, this is where I'm going to do it. But yeah, before we go over this stuff, like episode by episode, is there anything anyone wants to say?
It was
I really enjoyed this arc.
Yeah, it was a super dope like dungeon crawl, because I don't know if we've really had a dungeon crawl like this before. Maybe in like one-shots,
this was the first. Yeah,
like this was like the fact that this was basically 6, 7 episodes, all of us crawling floor to floor on this ship. Like that was pretty intense, like from a player standpoint, because I didn't know when we were going to be running into shit. Like I needed to save my wild shapes, I needed to save my spells. Like the kind of the survival horror aspect of it was definitely interesting, because you never knew what was going to pop up, and as players we always assumed the worst, like that door's going to be a mimic, or there's a lich behind this door and it's the fucking Maijin to ruin our day. It was intense.
Yeah, that when it comes to the dungeon crawl, I remember thinking to myself that I need to find a way to give you guys a large amount of time, but not so much time that you guys felt like you could take an 8-hour rest whenever you wanted. So that's when I was like, okay, let me give them a hard time limit and find a character who can tell them what the hard time limit was, which I believe was 16 hours. You guys had 16 hours to get in, get everything done, and get out. I guess one last thing before we get into it is when I started this arc, I had zero idea where it was going. I was really throwing the track down in front of the train as it went. And pretty much 90% of this entire dungeon and story arc got completely changed and altered and defined by what I ended up naming the Space Pirate Lich, because I struggle with names. I'm very bad at naming things, and I could not for the life of me come up with a name for this Space Pirate Lich Queen. And I eventually settled on the name Ryoka as just a very small modification to the name of a character from an anime who's a space pirate. I'm a big fan of Ryoko from Tenchi Muyo. And building off that, this turned into the Tenchi Muyo horror show. And that wasn't a plan. I had zero plan going in, and it turned into that. And I'm sorry, but also you're welcome.
Super dope.
But let's get into it. So the first episode of this arc was probably the episode I'm thus far the most proud of when it comes to this show, and it was Interlude 6, The Black Legion. Some big stuff happened in this episode, namely the crux of the beginning of the arc, which is you guys were arrested and were being shipped off to Neo Arcosia by the Iron Legion in tandem with the Draconic Star Sovereignty. before you guys were rescued by Black Legion, Jake and Brian. Big surprise. Sebastian's warlock patron has intervened, and he has a mission for you guys to send you to take care of Ryoka and get the Soul Eater. But before you guys could do that, you guys had some decisions to be made, and Sebastian chose to kill his former mentor, his former commander, Captain Davrax.
Yeah,
this was truly an act of, dare I say evil? I say evil, right?
Yeah, I agree.
This was like Sebastian had been towing the line the whole way, and he crossed the line here. I felt like. Yeah. So that was big for me. Percy had some really in-depth singer time with Rohorn, and that was fun because that was, I wouldn't shoehorned isn't the right idea, but that was done in post. We had shot the whole episode, and we were done. We were like, okay, episode done, and then Brian mid-edit decided like he felt like there wasn't enough Percy, and on review he was right. So me and Jake coordinated on this semi voice acted, like it was semi scripted, voice acted role play thing, and that ended up being so cool. Made the episode so much better. And Brian, I don't know if you want to talk about Echo stuff during the interlude, because I know you're really proud of it.
Oh yeah, that was a fun scene to write. I really like the direction that I've been able to take with this. I think I've got one more of those in me.
Yeah. Good, because there's only one interlude left, I think.
Right, exactly.
Actually, no, there is two. There is
the next
two,
one, and then one after.
Yeah.
But I think in the style that there've only been a couple, but in the style that they've kind of cropped up, I have one more of those, and that's pretty much it. I'm still writing it. I have a general idea of two different concepts, kind of like the last time I had like sort of two different things go on, as opposed to the first one and the previous interlude where it's just kind of one solo message, like Echo calls home.
Right.
This last one was like explain my magic item, like incorporation, how my armor works, like kind of quantify some of the things that make Echo special.
Right.
And this next one is going to deal with what happened on the ship and how Echo feels about his past, and like the repercussions of like, now Echo can't like bury his feelings. He's got to address them. He's angry. He doesn't know what to do. So that's kind of the direction and where I'm writing from with the character for the next.
Very excited phase. To see the next interlude for Echo. That's another thing going into this arc, was because Sebastian has been towing the line so long, and knowing that Percy and Echo have been having kind of a problem with it. That was a big goal for me, was to show like, okay, choices have been made. Now the choices have consequences. Not that I'm going to like make you like, I'm not going to kill you for your choices. I'm just saying,
I hope not.
Here are the consequences.
Yeah. Sure.
Now you have dealt with them thus far, and now you guys have made other choices. Oh gosh, we'll see where this goes. But that was another big thing, is I didn't want the whole patron thing and this whole like compromising one's morals to kind of just fall into the background of the greater story. And I knew this was one of my last chances to really get a lot of that stuff out. And it ended up working out great through the Maijin. It ended up, a lot of stuff happened organically with Percy kind of bringing it up and talking about it, and Sebastian being forced to face it. And then Echo kind of having his aloofness and his mysteriousness put to the side, and he has to come out with some baggage. And you got to know Echo a little bit more through that, so that was fun. Does anyone have any comments about the Black Legion before we move on to the next episode?
It was a tough decision to make there. Like when you threw that at me, I knew I was going to have something like that come up eventually. I didn't know who it was going to be with or when it was going to pop up. But yeah, that threw me for a loop. That was a tough decision to make for sure. So you caught me on my toes on that one. Man. It was like, woo.
I remember I really enjoyed how I had it phrased where it was like, Ramazal did you the favor of leaving him alive for you, but really it was like prove how
that you're
dedicated you are.
Exactly. Yeah. That was rough.
Sorry.
That's all good. I think it really added to the story though, so I'm happy with how it turned out.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I feel like with Echo you can kind of see how he acts in that situation versus how he acts by the end, and like the kind of decision making he is sort of pushing forward. Like, okay, I'm down to like backseat this hell shit, and then at the end he's like, nah, fuck all this stuff, I'm fucking over it. Like, we need to get rid of this fucking ball of doom.
Jake, any last comments before we move on to the episode Crucible of Kulnar?
I mean, I think myself, like, Percy's reaction was definitely my reaction to it, because I think I've said this in the Discord. I have a lot of trouble separating my own lawful goodness from my characters, so it bleeds through a lot.
I understand,
But yeah, so Percy, that was, I think, the start of her being more and more concerned about Sebastian and the choice, because in Hell, like, we were kind of like, okay, you know, things are kind of okay, and then he started sending people's like souls to hell, and we were like, and I was like, okay, like, this is a little bit more, more, yeah, this is definitely less okay. Like, this is the fire with the dog saying this is fine, but like there's more fire and the dog is melting, and it's like, okay, this is less fire. I don't know. And then that choice definitely kind of pushed it over the edge for her, and she was like, oh shit, like, this might be an issue. And I don't know.
Yeah, I think when he starts sending souls to hell, you guys start trying to compromise. Well, like, okay, well, he can be selective about it, right? Like, he can only send the bad ones, and then bam, here's Davrax, good dude, very lawful dude, only ever done right by anybody as well as he could have. And no, you don't have a choice. Your master has called for this dude's soul. What do you do?
Yeah, we're kind of cornered there. He's in our way. It's like the obstacle that we have to overcome to continue. So that one, it's kind of like. Echo's like, I don't know what to do. I can't, like, say no. What the fuck's going to happen to me if we say no right now?
Yeah. So, all right, so let's move on. Next episode was called The Crucible of Kulnar, which was named after the battle of which the wreckage you arrived at. And
more like the Battle of Unkulnar.
And I took a moment at the beginning of this episode to do a little bit more of timeline pushing of, like, this war is happening. It's an ongoing thing, and now more stuff has happened. And you guys, I just reminder to the audience and to you guys that the war is the backdrop for this, and the war is happening, and here you are dealing with the remnants of a really terrible battle. Enter the Bellerophon, giant black ship that likes to eat other ships, and you guys coming up. Number one, really cool skill challenge of getting out of the way. That was really fun. Then you guys decided to seal yourself in a metal pod and hurl yourself in, which was fun but crazy. And then the janitors attacked, and I had a lot of fun building those janitors. I think what I did was I took the bone claw creature out of Mordenkainen's, I think it was, and I added laser eyeballs. Which I think I just did, like, they were, like, based off the firebolt cantrip, I think. Casted at, like, level 12 or something like that. I don't remember. Either way, for me, that was a fun fight because their whole teleport thing made that a nightmare, especially for Sebastian, who everyone knows. You know, Sebastian's the hardest dude to take down. He's got 1 billion AC, all the HP in the world, hits like a truck. And so it was really fun to, like, poke some holes in him. And but you guys prevailed. So any thoughts on this episode?
I'm just curious, Will, what did you think we were going to do to try to get into the ship? What was your thought? Like, oh, I bet they'll do this. I'm kind of curious because we kind of went off the rails a little bit. So I'm kind of curious what you were like when you were planning all this out. Like, what did you think in your mind? Like, I have a feeling they might do this or that.
Well, I think I just didn't think about it that hard, and I was just like, oh, they're gonna see the ship. And they're going to be like, oh, we need to go into there. And so they were going to fly this. I thought you guys were just going to fly it in there. I was going to do, like, maybe not a skill challenge, but, like, a series of, like, skill checks to avoid damage to the Starling.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, I thought you guys were going to fly in there and land. But no, you took a much more interesting route, which was fun.
Yeah, it was cool, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, another thing that happened this episode was you guys got to witness firsthand the Soul Eater functioning and ripping all the souls out of the remnants of the bodies. You know, so that was fun.
Yeah.
Definitely upsetting.
I did like the... Yeah.
I think I took the opportunity there to skim a little bit off the top of you guys immediately by saying, okay, give me some of the hit die. You guys don't get those anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so...
for sure.
I did fairly well through the dungeon in terms of like those punishment points.
Right.
I feel like, especially by the last fight, I was like full up. I had everything.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely needed it, but we'll talk about that episode when we get there.
Yeah, you were definitely in the best shape rolling into the final fight. Any other comments on the Crucible of Kulnar before we roll into episode 2 of this arc, or 3 really, if you include the interlude?
I think it was a wake up call for me, like the way the bone calls were designed. Like, okay, Will has a grasp on what Sebastian can't take care of now. So I'm like, here we go. I was like, I got to rethink some of my strategies now and stuff because now I have to adjust to these creatures that can attack me in different ways and transport away and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, plus you guys were locked down by difficult terrain, so that made it even harder. I remember Percy particularly shining and Echo shining as well in that fight.
I learned to hide.
Yeah, that's true.
It worked really, really good in the junkyard piles.
That was also the first introduction of like the type of the theme, if you will, to the dungeon, which was like the undead meet the construct kind of deal. Yeah, which is especially the first floor of the entire dungeon was really that was the theme I had going on. But I guess let's move on to the Bellerophon, where you guys proceed to begin exploring the mega ship. And along the way, you find all kinds of worker phantoms, a bunch of cyber whites frozen in cryogenic stasis that you then accidentally woke up by leaving the doors open. You guys got attacked by garbage oozes. There was a flame skull in an orb integrated with the computer system. There was an entire section where the bone claws dwelled that you guys did not explore. There was like 6 or 7 rooms. You guys just moved on. Like, I don't know if... Because you guys commented on both doors, and then you just went through one door and never looked back.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. We have, like, a limited time to play. So when we see 2 doors, and it's like, okay, well, it's one of these, and then we just go. And if it doesn't dead end, that's pretty much it. Like, we're not going to double back.
Yeah.
That really did bite us there, because we did some things out of order. I think... being able to turn invisible and pass without a trace kind of changed the way we approached the dungeon.
True.
And like the way we sort of crawled through it was contingent on those things.
Yeah, it was like every time you guys made progress, it was like you had passed a checkpoint and you weren't going back because like you had snuck this far. To go back would be to alert people you were here.
Yeah, and then the dice, we failed the check for whatever investigation. It's like, I'm not going to fuck with that. Time to move on.
Right.
Yeah, the nature of the game.
Yeah. I'll have to tell you what was in a door you guys skipped later on. But for me, this episode was about giving you guys like a real taste of both dungeon crawl plus like the thematic flavor of this dungeon. There wasn't really any story progression except for at the very end, you guys do hear a voice speak to you, which ends up being the Maijin in the next episode. But this was just pure dungeon crawl, a little bit of combat, a lot of exploration, and just a lot of flavor, I felt. But yeah.
Yeah, we got to see the dope rogue skills of Echo. Like I feel like in the first couple floors of the ship, we really got to see the different sides of Echo. Because before we saw the blade song and we saw you cast and you were doing sneak attack and stuff like that, but there wasn't a lot of like sneak and there wasn't a lot of like hiding and stuff like that. So this definitely the dungeon crawl gave you an opportunity to shine and show those different aspects of him, and it was dope.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that both characters I've played in the campaign so far have been like dungeon monsters. Like they've been kind of built with skills designed to tackle dungeons. High investigation, like intelligence stuff is good for exploring.
True.
Yeah.
Sure. Echo has like a decent charisma skill when it comes to lying, so that is what I lean into there. So when we interacted with NPCs, I got to do that. But Echo's whole backstory is designed to literally break into spaceships and like infiltrate them and fuck around inside. So all the spells I took, a lot of them I've had since the beginning, and I didn't really get to utilize super well until the dungeon. Like I've had the fly spell forever from the beginning, and I finally got to use it, and it was so fucking dope.
It was super cool. Yeah, absolutely. I very much look forward to us talking about the final episode, but we're not there yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else before we move on to the Maijin?
No,
Okay. So the Maijin was a linchpin episode in this entire arc. The first few episodes of this arc, as I was writing, for me, I was just trying to take it easy on myself, narratively speaking. I was just like, it's just gonna be chill. We're just gonna dungeon crawl. They're gonna go into rooms. There's gonna be monsters. There's gonna be traps. We're not gonna think too hard about this. And then I started getting that feeling of like, like this, our arcs are 8 episodes long. Each episode comes out every 2 weeks. We're talking about 16 weeks. And I'm like, 16 weeks of like, not exactly like any narrative building. Might be, I don't know, might be missing something for audience members. Might be a little dry. Yeah. I started to get worried. So I was like, okay, well, why don't I try telling the story of how Ryoka ended up the way she is? Which this is where the gears start turning. I start pulling in anime characters from this fucking harem anime. Oh my gosh. Anyways, and so I'm like, okay, well, how did they get here? And I start telling the story to myself. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just put like little tidbits where you guys can like piece together the story. And it just snowballed into, you got to talk to everybody, and I had to role play all these different women. And anyways,
they all sounded like men.
What can you do? But you guys run into the Maijin, who is one of my favorite NPCs I've ever made. 3 Arcana Lofts psychically bound together, spinning you guys a story of how you guys are going to, how he's going to help you get the Soul Eater. Really, he's just trying to free himself. He gives you guys some soul gems. He wants you to gather essence or soul energy, or he says pieces of their soul. It's really just like pieces of their essence into these orbs so that you can get to the Soul Eater. Really, he was just going to hijack them and bail. But you guys don't even get to that. You guys run into the princess. This is our first NPC that I based off the anime. It's Princess Ayeka. She's integrated with the ship, and she's looking for her lost song. I'm still leaning into the horror theme heavily at this point. I slowly ease off that as we get to the very end of the arc. But any thoughts about this episode? About the Maijin, about the princess, about just like the whole, like, okay, you guys made it far enough to the dungeon, now here's your tasks. Like, I don't know how you guys felt about all that.
Man, it made sense to me that we would get like some sort of side quest. I think I even said it on this episode. Like,
he's got his fingers to the pulse.
He knows.
It's just, yeah, no, it was very cool. Like, I was expecting something like that to happen, and once it did, like, I was like, okay, like, at least we have at least we're not just like stuck in this maze, not knowing where to go. You know what I mean? Like, getting the direction was nice, and also like I didn't even like know to distrust the Maijin. Percy, I think naturally is naive and trusting, even though she swore not to be. But like, it was like, what else would we have done? You know what I mean? Like, there was no option just to be like, oh, well, fuck you guys. Like, we're going to keep on going. Like, there was no doing that. We were just like, okay, well, we've gone at least a floor into this place. It's pretty shitty. We don't know where the fuck we're going. And then people come in and they're like, hey, we can kind of tell you where to go, whether that was a lie or not. It set us on the path to where we needed to go. So we were like, oh, this is
true.
This is okay. But they were also super filthy. I hated those fuckers.
If I see him again, I'm going to turn him into the Daijin.
Yes. Yes.
Real quick on the Maijin being nasty, I based the Maijin off of the concept of these 2 magical races from this fantasy novel series called Wheel of Time. And in the Wheel of Time, there are these otherworldly beings called the Aelfin and the Eelfin. And they're like fox and snake people, but they're very like Fae-esque in their morality. And one of them feeds off people's memories, and another one feeds off people's emotions. And I went with the fox people for this one, and I just made it so that they fed off whatever I needed them to. I think it was memories and emotions. That's cool. And then the symbol on their door was actually, I took that symbol from the Wheel of Time. It's the symbol of Snakes and Foxes, which is a game in the Wheel of Time. So that was a big Wheel of Time nod. No one caught it, and no one said anything in the comments, which I was surprised about. But yeah, I stuck that in there.
Are they making a TV series of Wheel of Time?
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be garbage. There's no way it's gonna be good. There's just no way. I'm sorry. It's just when you got books that big and they got that much going on.
Them into,
like how it's not gonna be good. Just like if they try to make Stormlight Archives, which is probably one of my favorite book series of all time. It'll be garbage. I have no faith that it'll be good. And guess what? If it is good, I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Nice.
But yeah, any comments about the Maijin or the Soul Gems or the princess?
I loved how the whole room was with the princess, how she's integrated into the ship. I thought it was a very cool visual and kind of just set the tone of how this ship, how evil it is to have someone trapped for 1,000 years, like integrated into the ship and just part of, I just love the whole visual of that whole room and how the princess was integrated into the ship. I thought it was really a cool flavor to have.
Yeah, that flavor I was inspired by some Final Fantasy VII stuff with just the industrial kind of look, especially with if you're familiar with Final Fantasy VII, obviously the room where they keep Genova held and how she's kind of integrated.
That's exactly what I imagined when I saw the princess.
Exactly, and that's very much what I was inspired by. And throughout this whole dungeon, I was trying to iterate just how twisted a lot of the stuff is, because later on when we meet Lady Camisa, she's a bit of a what's the word when something doesn't make sense? Like she is a
anomaly.
She's an anomaly, but she's like a walking contradiction. And she's like that in the actual show. Obviously, she's based off the character Washu, and Washu is very charming, super genius, very sweet, but also a mega maniacal, and her experiments are really fucking twisted. So this was the beginning of that setup as well. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I figured all the NPCs were like personality inspired from these characters, like how some of them are willing participants and then the ones towards the end were like, where the fuck are we, what is this?
Right.
It's like kind of goofy.
Yes,
like there's some goofy characters probably I'm forgetting the specifics of from Tenchi that are like making it into the game.
Exactly.
Like why is there this dichotomy there? Oh, it's because of the way that they're built from their personality.
Yes, exactly. Also, I think at the end I just I was trying to keep the whole inspiration and stuff balanced, but by the end I just throw abandonment to the wind. I'm just, fuck it, we're in a Tenchi anime now, deal with it for 2 episodes and then we'll be done.
It worked. I want to parrot what Jake was saying about our Maijin quest. I had the feeling like, okay, we're gonna do this thing, they're gonna send us, we're gonna get a lot of data as we move and then we can like reassess. So my plan was always to reassess before returning to them,
right?
But for a while, it just seemed like, okay, we're gonna do this for the Maijin. They're gonna fuck up whoever and get the hell out of here and use us, and it's beneficial. But not surprised at the end to find out that they're bastards.
Yeah, and you know what? At the I had plans at this point of you guys were going to return to them. There was going to be a whole thing, but the way things end up going over the next few episodes, I'm pushed for time. So it's like, and we'll talk about it in the Lady Camisa episode, because that's the episode where it's like, I felt bad because I was just like pushing you guys through the dungeon, because I knew we needed one more episode for the fight, and this is a problem that I've created for myself as we progress through this campaign, where it just so happened that we were doing 8 episodes that were fitting nicely, and then an interlude, and then that kind of fit nicely with the whole Aninism thing. It was a total accident, by the way, but after that happened 2 arcs in a row, I was like, oh fuck it, I'll make it a thing, it'll be fine, and it's been fine. And this was the first arc where I was like, fuck, like I don't have enough episodes to really get this comfortably placed. I had to squish some things at the end. I don't know how it came across in the final product, but that is definitely how I felt, but we'll get to that later.
It played nice, like as a game. Like I felt good. I feel like episodically, the episode that is airing tonight as we record, which is the boss fight with Ryoka, definitely could have been 2 episodes. Like easily.
I mean, hell, it was 2 hours and 48 minutes.
I literally had to cut it into 2 pieces to upload it to our podcasting host.
Yeah,
so that's a clear indicator that it could have been 2 episodes just right there.
And that's also a symptom of the fact that we are getting into high level shit, and high level boss fights take a long time. Because literally, I think the fight itself is over 2 hours, right?
Yeah,
like,
the majority of the episode, we literally start and then like less than 5 minutes in, the fight begins.
Right.
And then I think the last like 30 minutes is just
exposition afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which honestly, that I considered, now we're talking about Ryoka, the final episode a little bit, but I considered cutting it off right as the fight ended and then adding all that Lady Camisa hurl the Soul Eater into the sun into the interlude.
I thought that would have been a cool way to do it.
Right. I thought about it. I did, but we were there. I'm like, let's just do this.
It was organic. Yeah, we ended up hashing it out organically.
Yeah. So let's move on to the episode, The Devil's Workshop. And this is where things begin to take the humorous turn.
Needle juice.
And I love the Needle Master. I really do.
He's the best.
I also felt so bad for him. Because going in, I really didn't know if you guys were going to fight or befriend this guy. I made him creepy on purpose because he is creepy. He's a creepy guy. But he's generally a nice guy. But you guys didn't know that. And Echo was on a hair trigger, and that it turned into a thing. But yeah, you guys venture further into the Bellerophon, find all these taxidermical statues, if you will, that are actually real devils that are being pinned up like marionettes.
Yeah, like dolls.
Like dolls, yeah. All this display stuff, all this trophy stuff of Ryoka's, like what she's conquered and what Kamisa has experimented on. Though you don't really know any of that at the time. And then you find the person who is marionetting all these devils, the Needle Master.
Sorcery.
Sorcery, yeah.
No, sorcery.
Sorcery?
It's Akatsuki.
Okay,
it's
gotcha.
Naruto.
Okay, gotcha. And you guys proceed to talk to him. He's really creepy. He gets a little too close. Echo pulls the trigger. Starts a fight. You guys beat the shit out of him. He begs you to spare his life. He'll help you. He'll do whatever you say. He's actually not that much of a help. Like, he does give you guys some information, but his information is limited. And honestly, you guys proceed to keep treating him like an asshole, which is why he betrays you in the end. But I think you also fight the Clockwork Abomination here, which was a fun fight.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember the details on how difficult it was. Do you guys remember that fight being particularly difficult?
Didn't Sebastian go down?
Sebastian, did you drop?
Oh, people were getting paralyzed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got paralyzed, yeah.
Yeah.
Another paralyzer.
Another paralyzer.
I was trying to run it out of the room, and that was like not working. So
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I think I just left my friends to die. That was weird.
I got paralyzed
tried
and
a
you're
strategy.
gone. I'm like, I'm dead. I'm going to die.
Yeah. I remember the guys being like, oh, okay. Bye.
Like, oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I really thought that would work.
So that monster, by the way, I don't remember the challenge rating on it exactly, but it was a very strong monster, and you guys could have easily fought another one and been fine. You guys are so crazy strong at this point. Even the Ryoka fight, I think she was challenge rating 17.
Oh,
And I brought in was it 2 phantoms? So both phantoms were challenge rating 5s.
There was something else too, right?
Yeah, and then
the
there was
panther
her panther, which is based off of Ryo-Oki, her cat rabbit spaceship, which we're not going to get into the details of. That was a challenge rating 3. So you guys fought a challenge rating 17, 2 challenge rating 5s, and a challenge rating 3. And yeah, it took a long time, and I think some of you guys got beat up, but in the end, you guys kind of trounced her. Well, again, we'll talk about that episode when we get to it. But you guys are crazy strong. Devil's Workshop was when I really realized it. Any comments, concerns, statements about that episode before we move on?
I mean, I'm pretty sure remembering, I think, Freeland, I think you soloed that clockwork thing. I think you were by yourself frontlining, and I think I was in the back spell casting or something. You basically handled that thing by yourself. Because then Echo came in, and I think he finished it.
Yeah.
And then, me as Jake am sad that we didn't kill Needle Juice. Personally speaking.
Brian wants to kill Needlejuice still.
That's hilarious.
Oh well, that time is gone. We also, I was trying to do my grease thing there really bad.
Oh, yeah.
It kept passing the strength save of my lightning lure, which
It
made
was
sense.
mind-bogglingly strong. I don't remember because I based it off the Retriever monster, so I think it has strength of 24, some obscene shit like that.
Echo's got his tether on it,
I was just waiting for the demons or whatever to come out of their display cases. I don't know if that was ever a possibility or not, but I was so freaked out. I was like, okay, what are we going to do to trigger this to happen? I was like, because this is going to be scary, man.
It was not going to be a possibility, but I wanted just the creepiness of having all these eyes on you and knowing
it was creepy.
Shit, these things are alive. Yeah,
For sure.
I thought this dungeon, I was like, this is going to be fucking the end of Jumanji where everything is out of the fucking board game, running around the ship at the end.
That would be crazy. That would have been a crazy way to end it for sure.
Would have been intense.
Like all the animals too. I thought it was just going to be chaos in there.
Yeah.
Running down the hallway.
That could have been nuts. All these adventures can go so many different ways. All right, let's move on. So the next episode was called the Yoshigi, and this is where we venture into the Icky Labs and meet the Quasit Quartet, who I think honestly they were my favorite NPCs in the whole of the dungeon. I really love Una and all her little brothers, and how disgusting Legis was. Going back and listening to that episode, I was just cracking up at the interactions between everybody, and it was wild. And then at the end of this episode, you guys venture further. You find the Hiyoshigi, get attacked by the masked ones. Percy gets aged, but not really. We retconned it. But that was an interesting fight. You guys fought 2 ghosts, basically, is what I statted them off of. And I think at the tail end of the episode, you catch a glimpse of the child. And yeah. So what did you guys think of that episode?
I like that fight.
Yeah, it was a
The
good
fight was cool. I love Echo's interaction. Just the fact he played off that he was like a new employee or
Yes,
like an intern.
so
I fucking
funny.
love that whole thing, man. It was
They were just, all right.
yeah, sure, okay. I was like, oh, this works. I was like, yes, let's roll with it.
It was so awkward because you guys are just like, standing down the
We're
hallway
like,
a little bit. Like,
what do we do?
thumbs up.
I think
We're
Una was
here to
like,
watch.
Are these guys with you?
We're training.
And then you almost pulled the trigger in a fight right there. Actually, I
Oh,
remember
yeah,
Echo
yeah.
almost was like, I cut off at your head.
I misread the interaction.
Yeah.
And I thought they were being hostile when they weren't.
I love that whole thing. Though. That whole.
It's a fair assumption.
Yeah.
Like one of them's a walking sphincter, right?
Well, yeah, the big one who wasn't there actually. Legis
Oh yeah, he
was
was
He's-
in the other room.
exactly.
Oh, what was behind the one room with the retinal scan or whatever?
Oh, that was
Camisa's
Camisa's
bedroom.
quarters, and
Yeah.
there was a point where I thought you guys might go with her in there because she was going to retrieve the blazing emblems from there, which is what she
Oh.
did. But she just left you guys behind
She just-
because
okay.
again, we were pressed for time. I was like, I don't
Gotcha.
got time to like describe a room and like
Yeah,
we're just
yeah.
moving. But yeah, I outside of some crazy checks, you guys weren't going to get in there. It would have taken like a crit, which would have been fun. That could have changed things drastically.
For sure.
Yeah, with like 4 enemies sitting right there and like trying to fuck with the door. It was, like, not
Yeah,
worth it.
because I was just like, okay, because yeah, if you guys had managed to do it, it would have started a fight. That would have been an interesting fight because I think Legis was a
booty hole.
He was a what? Oh, fuck, what are the things called? A flesh golem, but he was a demonic flesh golem. So he was
butt.
he was like challenge rating 7 or something like that plus the quasits. That would have been fun. But that didn't happen. Instead, you guys fought some ghosts, got an instrument, saw a child. I guess we can move on. Are we ready? Are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
So then we get to the child scepter. And what I wrote down for this episode was Pokemon forms because God, Jake got a lot of forms this episode.
It's dope.
Yes.
And I'm glad that I'm happy with the way it happened. I wish I would have been able to give you these forms like starting a little bit earlier than now and kind of spreading them out, but just the way the story is gone, and it's hard to, I lose track of certain things, and I lost track of all the awesome forms I was giving Jake. I was like, fuck it, I need to rush and just give him a bunch because he's more than earned it at this point. And so we did that. You guys found the scepter in the one of Camisa's labs. This is also the episode where I start really highlighting this extra dimensional stuff. Because I needed it to work later in Camisa's lab for the mirror dimension thing, but also like I had some thoughts about the final episode, and I almost want to integrate the mirror dimension thing into that. I ended up not doing that, but at the time I was like, I need to establish this stuff now, so that's what I did with the crazy spa rooms and the extra dimensional menageries and stuff like that.
Spa room was cool. One of my favorites.
Yeah, you can't have a Tenchi episode without like a spawn bath. You just can't.
Yeah, the hot bath.
Yeah, the hot bath.
Yeah.
Gotta have it. Trying to think what else about this episode. This is the episode I think you talked to the princess in this one too. You brought her instrument back, and she was a bit snooty and short with you guys, but that's how she is in the anime. And you got a piece of her soul. This is the first bit of soul you guys got.
I was so off put by how short and snooty she was with me.
Yeah, that's how she is. That's
I
what
was
she.
like, hey, the last person was not like this. What's up?
Yeah, she's a snobby princess.
Totally makes sense.
But yeah, so you guys met the princess, and then you were about to meet the child, but I hadn't written anything, so I'm like, we're ending the episode right here. Any thoughts on the child scepter, on the Pokemon forms, the bathhouse, the scepter, the princess?
I miss Bad Lobster.
Bad Lobster.
It was a like soupy tank that
In the muddy
Jake was
water,
gonna
the big
get a
tank.
wild shape
Oh
from.
yeah.
Yes, the crawdons. No, that was dope. I was excited to get like high level CR wild shapes because I think everything else up until this point was like 2. I don't think I have a. No, you gave me the ice spine, which was the
3.
the vague walrus.
Yeah.
Which was a 3.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I didn't really have very many 3s, and then I didn't really have very like once I got the elemental shapes, which I used like a couple episodes when we fought the janitors. That's when I did the water elemental for the first time.
That was cool.
Which was fun. But yeah, no, it was nice to get a different option instead of me using both of my wild shapes, turning into an elemental, and then us having to rest eventually. It was nice to have 2 that I can just turn into that are both viable. Like that Tyrantrum, super strong. The Garchomp is like all of them are equally super strong. So I was like, oh man, like I have an embarrassment of choices here. Which
Yeah,
I'm stoked
and you did end up with a surprise choice at the very end when we needed to find something that could fly.
did.
I know.
I
So
did.
like, oh my god, I got all these Pokemon forms, and now we're like figuring this shit out at the very end.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah. Freeland, any thoughts on this episode?
I really like the whole tank, just the whole creepiness of not being able to see into the tank, and these like, I like the whole
dead
visual
creatures.
of that. Did we miss anything in that room? I was curious about that room that we wanted to go back to.
That
by the
void
fish
room?
tank.
Oh yeah.
I was about to ask about that.
Oh wait, which room? Because
It was-
there's a void room, but then there's the room where you guys could not break into it.
Yeah, there was a panel or whatever we couldn't get into. And we thought about going back to try to get into it.
Right.
We just ran out of time.
So
I
we didn't
forgot
know
about
if it was
that.
like a janitor closet or something else. You know, we're like,
So
oh yeah,
it was the room where Kamisa was keeping all the soul gems that were designed to keep. Okay, so I guess here's some lore. The souls that were being kept in the clockwork abominations that were operating them, those were fiend souls that she was extracting
okay.
from some of these bodies that they were collecting with the Needle Master and
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
And there was going to be some active ones and some unactive ones, but it was basically a treasure trove where you guys could have punched open all these orbs and grabbed the gems out of. But you guys couldn't get in, so and you guys never
Gotcha.
went back to reattempt it.
Yeah.
And then as for that void door, that's the one that Kamisa goes through to get to her bedroom from the upper floor.
Yeah.
So it's like a direct portal from her upper labs directly into her room. So she doesn't have to deal with the icky labs or the closets.
Yeah.
She doesn't care for any of them. She only talks to them when
Stairs.
necessary.
Fuck stairs.
Yeah, that too. So moving on, we get into the wrap up of the arc. Normally that happens in the final episode. In this case, it's the final 2. Lady Kamisa, you guys end up talking to the child. Let's talk about the child for a second here because I was really torn on how I was going to portray her. She's based off of Princess Ayaka's sister, Princess Susami. And Princess Susami is just a generally sweet, responsible, kind, caring person. Which is cool, but maybe not the most fun character to roleplay as. But she has got this weird thing in the show where they do a couple spin-off episodes where they go full anime magical girl with her. So I kind of put that into the way she was dressed in her persona in her dream, which was fun. Just a little Easter egg, but we can move on. She tells you whatever's been going on, obviously it's not according to plan. The plan didn't work. You got to go talk to Kamisa. She's the only one who can help you. That again is me as a DM saying, please move along. Please, we're running out of time. And then you guys do. You guys go meet Kamisa. She pulls you into her mirror dimension. Now, I had a really cool idea for this that I did not get to do because we did not have time. My idea here was she was going to conjure up a pseudo Ryoka for you guys to fight, and it was going to be for me as a DM to test how strong of a thing I needed to throw against you guys, and then she was going to give you guys, it all happened in the mirror dimension, so it doesn't actually count against like your spell slots and all that other stuff. But we didn't have time for any of that, so we didn't do that. Instead, here's what you guys have to say. She tells you what she has to say. She's willing to help you if you guys don't kill her daughter. She totally wants you to not kill her daughter. She summons the Maijin, reveals that he's bullshit. And I think retrieves the Blazing Emblems for you. Actually, before this happens, you guys run through the last Phantom workshop I had and then into the room with the Warriors 2. which are the 2 Galaxy Police members of the anime.
Absolutely blast the fuck out of Sebastian.
They did. They did.
Oh
They
my
did.
gosh.
I remember being like, "Oh fuck, no!"
I wasn't expecting that. I was just trying to kind of peek in a little bit, kind of slowly move to see if they reacted, but it blasted me right away. I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
like, damn
yeah,
it.
they did. That was fun. Also, I think the room before that was the Room of the Four Hells, which, funnily enough, it fit very well with the in-game lore where there are 4 hells. But it's also in the anime. There is, I think, during a carnival thing, the character Kamisa's is based off of has like a room of horrors or whatever for this carnival, for this festival. But the thing is, they walk in, they're actually like dimensional doors that go to these different like hell dimensions, and like everyone who's going in is not coming out because they're dying. But she thinks it's hilarious. So that was a tip of the cap to that episode.
The ultimate door puzzle.
Yeah, the ultimate door puzzle. It's 5 doors in one.
That was a door.
They all go to
fight.
hell.
We sat boldly and pulled the levers and opened the doors.
It was
I was very proud of us.
But yeah, then Kamisa gives you the blazing emblem, sends you on her way. You collect the child's energy. You go to the Warriors 2 room. You inadvertently blow up the statues. That was a fun little scene. You get their energy. You get a taste of their personalities, and they're ripped from the show. Then you guys get to that final hallway. Use energy for door. Go up some stairs. Use energy for door. Go up some stairs. Use some energy for doors. What do you know? You're in the great shaft that's holding the Soul Eater, and Ryoka's voice comes out, and she's pissed. Needle juice told her everything.
Oh God.
Needle juice. There's a cool hack that Will doesn't know about where you can actually do like a reverse wall jump through one of the doors.
Oh my god!
And the the triggers that check if you actually have the souls, like just assume you have the souls if you made it there, so you can actually get in without the souls.
You speed run in my dungeon.
That's a speed running trick in Will's dungeon. That he didn't know. I exposed it. That was not on recording.
If it wasn't a actual recorded show and you tried to pull something like that, I might let it slide because it's hilarious.
Yeah, I was in Roll20 like clicking. And I was like, oh shit, I found it.
So yeah, thoughts on this show? This episode. This episode, from my perspective, was very rushed because I needed to get you guys to the final fight. But we didn't really get to talk about like what you thought of the personalities of these NPCs or the way it all played out.
Oof. I mean,
I actually really thought the rush feel like towards the end was warranted, and like actually made the episode feel like very full.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay. Cool.
All my re-listens were like, I remember like picking up on your vibes, like it's go time. Let's get through this, and be like, you know what? That's a cool kind of way. We already sludged through so much of this stuff. Like let's just kind of slide through the rest, so to speak. And it doesn't really feel to me like we like did anything too quickly.
Okay,
it
that's
felt like
good.
it had the right pacing.
Yeah.
Like the pacing needed a little pick me up.
Yeah, and I think also just mirrors the whole concept that we're on a time crunch anyways. You know, like we had a certain time period that we had to get stuff done, so we kind of like Brian said, kind of sludged through the beginning, and then all of a sudden the end is like, wait, we don't know how much more time we have left. Let's crank this out. So I think it just flowed well with the whole story arc, for sure. Cool. At the end. Yeah.
It's like when you're writing a poster board and you start spacing the letters like all confused, and you're like, oh fuck, it's not gonna fit.
That's exactly what it's like.
But it felt right. It felt right.
Yeah, it did for sure.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad. How did the NPCs come across in this one? I'm very curious from an outside perspective because at this point, I've just abandoned any type of pretense, and I'm just we're fucking doing it. And
it was the Warriors 2.
The Warriors 2.
They were funny. I like them.
Yeah, they're based off the 2 characters from Tenchi Universe, Kione and Mihoshi.
I think they are the ones that kind of tipped me off about like, oh, they're all vastly different.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. Like, I'm like, oh, they're goofy. I like them.
Yeah, I like them too. They're always a laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I'm doing it.
That was another thing. I was like, we gotta go. I can't sit here and explain anything. We just gotta go. It works.
They're just like, what the fuck? I guess it's fine.
But yeah. So, any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns before we get to the final episode of the arc?
I think the thing that not I guess threw me off the most was just like the super casual drop of like the multiverse and shit.
Oh
like,
yeah,
like them
okay.
just being
Yeah,
like
let's
super
talk about
casually,
that.
oh, from
Like, oh,
another
yeah.
universe. Like
So-
I was like, the fuck, we're not talking about this. You're not gonna give us any more.
Let's definitely talk about that right now. So, that wasn't a thing until that very episode. Like right before when I was prepping the episode, I you know, there is a story going on here with this dungeon exploring. You guys are figuring out who these people are, how they got here. You're figuring out their story, and so I have to come up with some sort of like resolution or for the final conflict, or setup for the final conflict. And I spent I don't know how many hours trying to fit these characters and this story into this Drakenstar universe in a way that made sense, that felt right, that fit onto the wiki. That I know Velocity writes. Thank you, Velocity. You're awesome.
Hey.
And I couldn't fucking do it, guys. I couldn't do it. It just didn't work. But what's great about that is the Tenchi universe, the various Tenchi shows, it's riddled with multiverse and time travel and all that other stuff. Like every Tenchi is just a different parallel Tenchi universe. And there's like a dozen different iterations of these characters. So for me, it was like, here's another one. In this one, they found my universe. And they're leaving now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Very interesting.
But I did think it was fun.
I feel like we had some precedent set for multiverse, like at least this kind of setup. Like we have great old ones, and we have Carter Huttenberg, who is like designed off of like a kind of a dark towery feel, which has like multiverse stuff.
You are right. We've
With
established
time
there
travelers
are
from
more than
another-
one dimension. We know that there are great old ones. There is something beyond the universe, and we know that there is the universe, which was also remade. So you're right. There was a little bit of precedence.
It's definitely something I wanted to address in character as Echo, though, because that's okay. Time travel, yeah, okay, whatever. You guys are definitely weird, sure. I believe you. And now this, it's like, okay, I need to kind of like, we should talk about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm down. I'm down to DM the conversation.
Yeah, I wasn't
That'll be
sure if
interesting.
that's like an interlude thing, like, or
Could be.
I'm gonna start writing soon, so it's gonna be something that comes up.
Okay, sounds good. We'll coordinate on it. Anything else before we move on to this final fight?
I guess the reason why I was so thrown was because I thought that there was only like us and then like the hells is what I thought. Like the great old ones, yes, like I figured they were beyond kind of thing. And then like we've already talked about gods and stuff. Oh shit. We've already talked about gods and stuff like being like also part of their own thing.
Right.
But yeah, there was just something about them being just super casual.
No, I get it. This
Like,
because
yeah,
this
I'm
is
from a
different. Like
universe.
It is.
all the other stuff was like planar in a way. In that
Exactly.
sense,
Yeah.
this is like
This is
a
not, yeah.
completely different reality.
Yes.
So it is different.
It is different. And the thing is, they are casual. Well, they're casual with it because, okay, I mean, the characters they're based off of,
Kooky
all
anime
these kooky characters are thousands and thousands of years old. Every single one of them. And they were thousands and thousands of years old even before this 1,000 years they theoretically spent in the Drakenstar universe. One of them is essentially a god, anyways. Kamisa or Washu is literally one of the three gods who created the Tenji universe. Depending on where you are in the timeline, she either knows that or doesn't. Anyways, all this stuff is just everyday for them. So for them, it is cash. But when it comes to our campaign setting, the way I figure it is, yeah, you have the hells, and we're gonna get to the lost city of Kadath, and you have the universe of the galaxy, which we've never really tackled. This entire universe is the galaxy. There are no other galaxies. There's nothing else out there. So it's a very small universe. But the hells are in a different dimension, but that dimension is still part of this universe. Same with the lost city of Kadath and the Void Harrow as well, which is like, it's kind of like if you, it's if you flip the universe inside out. It's still, but you're walking on a different side of the same universe. These ladies are from a completely different universe that is almost no connection whatsoever to, and theoretically there would be uncounted amounts of universes.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
It's a relatively popular concept. So
Yeah.
like people kind of understand what this is.
Right.
I mean, open up the PHB, I'm pretty sure it says right there, like, welcome to the multiverse, motherfuckers.
Right,
Or is
it does.
DMG?
It really does.
I think it's DMG, actually. You open it up and it's like, hey, you're going to make a story in the Forgotten Realms, but it's not our Forgotten Realms. Fuck off with that. It's your Forgotten Realms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's do it. We're going to move on to the final episode of this story arc, which I don't know. I don't really formally name the arcs, but I guess if I were to name this arc, I would call it the Bellerophon arc. So this is the final episode of the Bellerophon arc. Ryoka, the Devil Caller. It's a big fight. It's a really big fight. She shows up, she hurls a giant fireball at you guys, and proceeds to swing her lightsaber at you guys and like almost never hit. When she does hit, it hurts, but she almost never does. She's got a few minions. There's flying dinosaurs and a bunch of other bullshit. I'm going to be honest. This fight was very long, and I had a lot going on in my head. So it really was a big blur to me.
Let us know if we hit round 10 accurately or not. I think we missed it by one round.
Yeah. It was a blur for me, but it was a fun blur. But I just want to know, what were your guys' thoughts, concerns, comments about this crazy fight?
I have a general concern. I had a D10 that was counting the rounds, and I just fucking forgot about it for like 3 turns. I'm very concerned with that. I remembered to do it and then forgot immediately.
Oh, man.
There's a lot. Combat is very concentration heavy, so.
Yeah. It was intense, man. I was like, it got to the point where I was like, I don't know if we're going to be able to take her down because she was, regenerating health. We're throwing everything we had at her, and she was still standing. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to take her down before she takes me down at this point. I was like, I just don't know. It was a long, drawn out fight. I mean, not drawn out in a bad way, but it was just a long fight. And I was like, I don't know if Sebastian, he's a heavy hitter, but he doesn't have that stamina. I don't know if he can go, 15 rounds and still be able to hang in there. But yeah.
It's funny that's what you felt, because on my end, I'm feeling like these guys, my monsters are barely holding on enough to make this fight as epic as it's supposed to be.
I got the same exact vibes as the Carter Huttenberg fight. Mm-hmm. I felt the exact same way. Right. And I was kind of using similar tactics. I'm like vanishing outside the battlefield and stuff. I'm like, fuck, I can't get hit that much.
One of the things that I've struggled with, and I think I got some better ideas of how I'm going to approach it, is the fight was tough for you guys, as it should have been, but I think out of all my attack rolls, I think I missed 60 to 70% of all my rolls. And that's the thing, is like, if I had made the fight easier, then you guys would have trounced it completely. Yeah. But if I had made it any harder, or if I had hit more consistently, like, you guys would have got your asses beat. So it's difficult. It's difficult for me to find the balance. I got a better idea how I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to up attack roll bonuses and lower damage output. We'll see. We'll see. I have to really look at it. I'm happy with how the fight came out, though. I am. It's just, that's one of the things I struggle with. And I'm glad to know that the fight had the intended effect, at least on you, Freeland.
We had an interesting, flavorful combat. I think there was nothing wrong with it, even if it was a little unbalanced in our favor.
Right. The T-Rex flying around, the fighting on the wall was fun. That was a fun bit.
That was so cool.
Flying on the wall, bouncing off of it.
The teeth and shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Echo hiding underneath.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Aesthetically and visually, it was definitely a fun fight. It was hard because it ended up being that battle of attrition, Brian, like how you were saying the Carter fight was, because she just kept on disappearing, and I was like, fuck, do I... I was fighting with myself the whole time, because I was like, do I unwild shape and just try to fairy fire the shit out of this place, and then hope she doesn't hit me and take me down, because I only had 40 HP. She was putting out 40, 50 damage a hit, and she was hitting 3 times. So I was like, well, fuck, if she hits me once, I'm dead. She hits me 2 more times, I'm actually dead. So I was like, I don't want to not wild shape, but it was definitely in my head. And then the second that Echo turned the fly off, which by all means,
you were definitely off put by that.
Worked in our favor though, because that's what needed to happen. But the reason why I was off put was I was like, I can't hit her now. I was like, I can't do anything to her now.
You're playing the waiting game now.
Yeah, exactly. So it was tough. But then the second that we figured out, the flying wild shape on the fly, which Will, that was great, that we did that. That ended up being like just a dope part of the thing that I got the Noivern, and then it was just super strong, and then fucking Echo hasted me. So then I was able to
that was wild.
Fucking,
it was nasty.
Flying like crazy.
Flyby attacks from Naru.
Yes.
That was crazy
Yeah.
cool.
Doing like flips like on the person right there.
He just had so much movement.
I think I had like 180 or something like that. I want to say.
Crazy.
Anime vanishing and shit around
Yes.
the battlefield.
That was dope.
Yeah.
I custom built Ryoka. I think I told you guys I mixed the stats and abilities of a Skull Lord and a Death Knight. But I also I got it flavored just right, where everything she did is exactly what she does in the fucking anime. She's a powerhouse. Some of the best scenes in that show are just Ryoko kicking ass. And I really wanted to she's my favorite anime character of all time. I don't know if I said that on the show. I probably have. Undisputed. And I love anime. There's a lot of anime I like. Ryoko is my favorite anime character of all time. So it was personal for me. I really wanted a good fight. And I'm very happy that y'all indulged me to do this, because this is the most indulgent thing I think I've ever done in a D&D game, let alone on a recorded campaign. So thank you guys. I hope it was fun.
Cool.
I had fun. It was wild.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I
a lot
got
of
to do
fun.
Ranger Danger.
Oh yeah. Danger.
One day we'll finish Ranger
Yeah,
Danger.
we got to finish it.
We do.
Yeah, if you guys want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/thedungeoncast, or I think we're going to be starting a join button on YouTube that's going to like kind of more directly. It's like Patreon for YouTube. You can like join up and like get specifically for Super Quest Saga, so we can
Fuck
like
yeah.
kind of
Okay,
separate
cool.
that
That's
a little
cool.
bit. But if you guys want the OST for this show, there was a lot of it in this arc. I'm going to be updating the Patreon very soon. That's going to include all the stuff from the last interlude up until now. Should be like, I think we had almost a combat per episode, or like -2. I think we did.
Yeah,
not
with
have
this
combats.
this was the most combat heavy I think we've done for an arc. Most arcs only have like 3-4 fights tops. This had like 8.
Yeah, I think I got
Yeah.
Organ into almost all of them because I had
Oh, that's cool.
space pirate ship.
Hell yeah.
Organs.
Fits the
Badass.
vibe.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, you can definitely check that out. All the OST for the entire show is on Patreon. You can go check it out. It's like the $10 tier, silver piece or
Something like
Electrum.
that.
So one of those.
One of those.
That doesn't matter. You'll see it in the description. But yeah, if you're interested in that, you can go check that out. I think once the show ends, I'll probably end up releasing that on like Bandcamp or something like that.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, they'll just be out there.
Hell yeah. So before we completely wrap it up, is there anything else you guys want to say about the arc, about your character, how they're feeling before and after, just any general thoughts?
Ooh man, I was talking to Brian that me as Jake was having troubles with what we did with the Soul Eater. I was like, Percy is very happy with what we did with it. Like, I don't think she wanted Ramazal to have it.
Yeah.
But me as Jake, I was fighting with myself, and I was like, man,
In
like,
what way?
Video game Jake wants a nuke.
Oh, it's new for sure, but
well,
like,
I didn't want to keep it. Like, I didn't want like Freeland to have it. I didn't want. I just kind of like, I guess I was rationaling with myself, and I was like, well, like Ramazal's in the Void Harrow. Like he's kind of separated from everything. Like, yes, he has influence over shit, but like, what's the worst that he can do with just more power? He's already fucking strong. Like, more power isn't gonna like push him over the edge, kind of thing. Just because I was worried about the ramifications of what we just did. Percy is not scared, but I am scared of what's going to happen.
oh yeah. There will
So-
be ramifications. We'll see how
yeah.
it goes. So
We'll
much of
see how
that
the interlude
depends on
goes.
Sebastian's report.
Yes.
Yeah, capital Ram.
If you got man,
get it.
I don't want to reveal too much, but there would have been some
Yeah.
very interesting repercussions if you had given it back. Like, I mean, end game, like after the final episode repercussions. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think giving it back was ever an option, anyways. But if you guys had, you would have been giving him like 1,000,000 free souls to fucking pack his armies full.
Yeah, I figured. Have you ever played Dragon Age Inquisition or just any of the
I have.
Dragon Ages?
I love
like,
Inquisition.
It's like something like that. Like, you make a decision in the game, and then you don't find out the shockwaves of that until you finish the game, and then they're
Right.
like, "Oh, hey, like that one decision you did over here, guess what? You just fucked up this whole country and this whole country just because you made like this short-term kind of thing. So like that's just always in my head because of those kind of games, that Mass Effect, like The Witcher, like all those games have those kind of like, okay, you can decide now, but you're not going to see what's going to happen until way fucking later. And then you see it in your sad ending, and you're like, "Oh shit!" Like,
that's those are the ideas I was having around the Soul Eater. But I forgot to even mention that as we talked about this final episode of like, afterwards you guys did choose to spare Ryoka, sorry, and Kamisa did talk to her and convinced them to leave and gave over the Soul Eater, told you basically what you guys were dealing with. She gave you her recommendation of hurling into a star, but she was wiping her hands clean of it. And you guys had a long discussion about it, and you guys did decide to throw it into a star, and you ended an entire star system with it. But you destroyed it.
Nobody needed that.
You released 1 million souls back into the galactic, what's it called? Ecosystem.
It was the galactic spirit, like, oh fuck.
I know. I think that's what the galactic spirit would have wanted, because otherwise those souls would have been lost to her.
Yeah. That was definitely the. I think the best case scenario for Percy was like because seeing the Soul Eater like eat up all of the souls in the very beginning of the dungeon was like rough. Like I was like, oh, that probably didn't feel very good for Percy to see that right there. So like releasing them and like having them at least find peace, like that was definitely like, okay, sick. And I'm glad that I'm happy that Sebastian did go along with it, because I think me and Brian had like a little confab that day at work, and we're like, do you think, as we are right now, like with all of our spell slots gone and everything like that, like do you think that we can take Sebastian in a fight? And we were talking, sure. And we were not sure, because I had used all my wild shapes. Like I had 40 fucking hit points. Like I had 2 spell slots. Like I was like, I don't think we can take him. And I was like, and I'm worried about the fact that maybe at some point in this game we're gonna have to fight Sebastian, and we already fought Carter. So I was like, oh well, shit, man. Like I was just thinking about all these snowballs and everything, and I was like, oh fuck, like this is gonna make me sad.
Interesting. So, what about Brian Freeland? What about you guys? Final thoughts on things before I kind of move on to look into the future.
I think with Sebastian, it was the decision with the Soul Eater. It was tough. Like, I think Sebastian's, of course, wanted to give it to his patron. You know, he feels like it gives him more power, and return, he'll get more power. And he's on this power trip right now. It's like, I need this power, and I need to arm my patron with power to see if we can take down this crawling chaos. And that's, in his mind, that's the only option. It's like, hey, we need to stock up and power up and just prepare for this final fight. But at the end of it, he, especially after the Maijin, after hearing Percy and stuff, he's realized that he's put his comrades on this path because of his decisions. And it's kind of like he has to think about what he's doing now and how it affects everybody, and kind of get their feedback instead of just jumping into things thinking it's the best thing for the party. Now he's taken back a little bit, and it's like, okay, wait, let me think about this, instead of just reacting like, hey, this is the only way we can do it. The only way we can do it is just, we have to gain power. We have to just keep, doing the wrong thing pretty much. But he feels like there's always been this feel in him, like he's not, like we've talked about, he's not strong enough. So he's always looking for something to get the upper hand, to power himself up, to get more power, and not thinking how it affects other people. And he just feels like that's the only option. But now he's kind of realizing maybe there's other ways to do this. But it was a struggle for that character for sure, because he was torn both ways. And at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, we'll do this as a family, as a group, whatever the majority votes on, that's what we'll do. So, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, for me, I was kind of rolling with the ends justifying the means for a long time. And then with what happened with the Maijin, Echo's just kind of like, these aggressive options are super appealing to him right now. He's not really thinking about it either.
Oh,
he's
saying like fuck you, Ramazal.
Yeah.
Thing into something.
Nah, fuck that fool.
Absolutely.
Fuck all this devil shit. Like, fuck this Soul Eater. Fuck that star, I guess.
Poor star.
Yeah.
Didn't do nothing to nobody.
So I think one of my interlude things is going to be wanting to talk to Sebastian, like, kind of about what's happening, and like definitely rehash like that beat. Like there are other ways. Like we'll find them. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's a good conversation for us to have because now it's not. You know, we're on the border. Me and Jake were like, oh, we're gonna have to fight this fool. I've got like fucking level 2 spell slots and not a lot of HP, and like it's gonna be the AC versus
The same,
you know,
basically.
how long I can sit there and shield you. It wasn't gonna be good. So now it's turned into like, okay, we can talk this out. We should talk this out. The time is now.
Yeah.
Like we made a big decision. What happens next? We need to like be careful with like the decisions we make from here out to tiptoe lightly. There's
Right.
probably going to be hard decisions ahead.
Yep.
Um,
So yeah, moving forward, get ready for it, guys. This is it. This is just going to be a straight shot to the end. We got a lot of heavy plot narrative stuff coming up. I'm excited for this interlude. I'm going to be coordinating with all three of these gentlemen over the next 2 weeks as we get this episode ready for you guys. But yeah, everything's going to be coming to a head here. There's no more playing around. Things are probably going to keep getting grimmer too as we get towards the end, but we'll see. I can't really predict all that too closely. But I'm very nervous personally because the way I feel about it is the hardest thing about any story is figuring out how to stick the landing. And I'm out of time when it comes to that. Like the landing needs to be getting stuck starting with this interlude. So here we go.
For sure.
you guys know how animes have like different post credits songs, and like maybe characters are dancing that you normally wouldn't see doing that type of stuff.
Sure, yeah,
I feel
absolutely.
like all the Tenchi Muyo characters and us are like dancing at the end to like a funky beat.
Hell yeah.
I was like, oh, how am I going to work in Bellerophon into this?
The
Like as a
Bellerophon.
joke. This is a record called the Bellerophon, and we're all just dancing to it at the end. Like,
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's canonical. That's
you
how it
hurl
goes.
the Soul Eater into the star, it explodes. Sebastian's nervous about talking to Ramazal about it.
Yeah.
Everybody's on edge. Boom, smash cut, credits roll, funky music, everybody's dancing.
If you guys like the show, if you like what we do here, please leave an iTunes review. Please tell your friends. Please leave a comment below. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Help support us on Patreon, and we will see you guys here next time on Super Quest Saga.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.